A new season beckons for Caterham Motorsport. The opening rounds due to do battle here at the infamous Brands Hatch circuit in Kent. And if the racing is anything like last year, we're in for a frantic season. Race 2 for the Avon Tyres Caterham Roadsport Championship this weekend. The familiar double-header format for all classes. And Daniel Quintero's race win in race 1 puts him on pole alongside Russ Ollivant. And this has the makings of being another absolute corker. 20 minutes of action in prospect. Rui Ferreira here starts on the third row. And he, like everybody else now, looks forward and concentrates on that lighting gantry. In a moment, the lights will go red. Engine notes will rise. And then 28 Roadsports unleashed. Good start from the outside of the front row by Ross Ollivant on board with Ferreira. The red car to the left of Dan Prosser has got a slightly better start. They were level on the third row. Prosser on the outside is going to lose out as Rui Ferreira sweeps through on the inside. Now, is everybody safely through paddock? Yes is the answer, and they climb uphill towards Druids. It's Russ Ollivant then, the race leader, as they work their way through Druids for the first time. Number 2, Thomas Monk, goes through. The Dane, based in London, and the field pours downhill for the very first time. 1 and 2 trying to be all heroic look on the inside there. One of them being the red car in the hands of Dan Prosser, but up front it's Ross Ollivant trying to get away. Now, making a break in a Caterham race is very difficult indeed, but he's on the way to do it at the moment as number 2, Thomas Monk, goes through. Trouble is, the opposition may well be able to tow themselves back onto the tail of the leader by the time they've got to the end of the pit straight. Through Clearways, into Clark Curve they swoop for the very first time, and up towards the timing line. End of lap 1. Race leader Russ Ollivant trying to get away from the rest. A challenge being made lower down. Look, as to the inside goes 29 William Lloyd, and Will brakes as late as he dares, going into paddock as it were. Yes, it has. He's up the inside and he's gone by. Ollivant then leads the way as they head up towards Druids once more. Daniel Quintero runs second, and the bright blue car third. He's that of David Bevan. And you're riding now with Rui Ferreira. He's in fourth spot, and the race leader's advantage is not really extending. If anything, now the black car of Quintero is starting to chip away, and the gap's coming down a fraction. Nose to tail for second place though. Daniel Quintero under attack from a hard-charging David Bevan as the cars work their way now. Once more up towards Clearways. Tyres squealing in protest as they work their way through. Up towards the timing line. End of the lap. Through they head. Rui Ferreira is a man on a mission. David Bevan just up ahead of him, the man from Winchester. They dive into paddock, and the lead battle is 4, almost 5 in a line now, because there, look, number 74 joining in is Rob Watts. Finished 4th in the opening race of the weekend, and now trying to go better than that. When he's caught the pack, now he's got to work his way through. So 4/5 for the race lead. Downhill they come. Still it's Ross Ollivant in charge, but loads of curb being used on the inside there by Daniel Quintero to try to shorten the lap and bring down the gap to the race leader. He's taking with him David Bevan as well as they work their way now left and then right through the Surtees McLaren sequence into Clearways. David Bevan getting a little bit crossed up there in third place, and that enables Rui Ferreira to get a little bit closer to him. Race leaders in the meantime, nose to tail up towards the line. Quintero now makes his move to the outside, and there's real drama there. Look, Sarah Porter is off as the leaders go side by side. Quintero right round the outside takes the advantage. Sarah Porter is back on track, but the new race leader is Daniel Quintero, who is, don't forget, looking to do the double this weekend because he won race 1. He's leading race 2 as the cars work their way up through Druids. Russ Ollivant then down in second. David Bevan runs third, and Rui Ferreira 4th. There's the yellow car. You're on board with it now of Rui Ferreira, the Portuguese driver. He's based these days in Princess Risborough, but the VP of Fleet Remarketing for Hertz Hire Cars International has really acquitted himself well in his season's racing of Caterham's, winner of the Academy last year, front runner already this year, and very nearly able to make a move for third place because David Bevan got it all crossed up ahead of him as they went through McLaren that time. Now he's in the wheel tracks. Now Ferreira starts to get a tow, just as Ross Ollivant does against the race leader. To the outside he goes, into paddock. Is he brave enough to brake so late? He can go round the outside. Yes, he is. Great stuff. Right round the outside goes Ross Ollivant, and that gives him the lead back again. But also now Bevan and Ferreira have dragged themselves into the mix as well. Russ Ollivant leads the way. Now Ferreira's up alongside Bevan to the left of us. Look, downhill, side by side. David Bevan on the inside retakes third place. And then behind them there's Rob Watts fifth, right with them as now Ferreira starts to make his move as the clock ticks down towards the end of 20 minutes of racing. It's getting all more urgent, and Ferreira and Bevan nearly lean on each other. Bevan goes off though, all over the grass. Look up the road, the leaders are still nose to tail, but Ferreira takes third, Watts goes fourth, and down to fifth slips Bevan. Here it is again. Now, was there contact, or was there just not enough room for David Bevan? Ferreira commits to the inside, going into Surtees. There's a terribly tiny nudge between them, but Bevan is the casualty. The Colombian, Daniel Quintero, cannot find a way through. He goes to the inside up at Druids. Is that going to pay off for him? He'll brake as late as he dares. If Ferreira stands his ground here on the outside, he's going to get the inside for Graham Hill Bend. He runs wide up the curb. He can almost lean across and touch Quintero's car, which is still there on the outside. Ferreira on the inside gets his nose back in front. Fantastic racing. It's going to be three wide in a moment as well, because Russ Ollivant joins in the blue car. Round the outside goes Quintero, back into the race lead. But we're running out of laps in all of this. The clock is ticking down. Quintero right on the limit. He leads the way. The checkered flag is at the ready. They are nose to tail now. Can Rui Ferreira make a move coming up towards the line? Yes, he can. Checkered flag is at the ready. It's going to be a virtual dead heat, and it is just Ferreira on the line by 40 thousandths of a second who takes the win. Daniel Quintero gets second, Russ Ollivant third. But what a race, and what a last few corners. Rui Ferreira timed that to perfection. He gets a tow. He gets the win. Rui Ferreira victorious ahead of Daniel Quintero. Russ Ollivant third from Watts, Bevan and Lee Collins in sixth. Wow.
It was very, very close. I didn't even know I'd won it until I got up here and they told us. So, pretty amazing racing, incredible stuff. It was nuts the last lap, but I couldn't believe that the tow would actually allow me to pass at the end, but I guess it worked, so it was cool.
So three very happy drivers on the podium, but there's no doubting the happiest of all. Rui Ferreira scores victory, although Daniel Quintero will leave Brands 3 points up on Russ Ollivant in the championship. Ferreira is third. Equal fourth, David Bevan and Rob Watts, with Lee Collins in sixth. Race 2 is on the grid here at Brands Hatch. It's the Avon Tyres Caterham Tracksport Championship with Anthony Barnes on pole position, Alistair Calvert with him at the front of the grid. The grid is based on the results of race 1. That means Damien Milkins and Barry Moore are on row 2 of the grid. 30 minutes of racing is go. A good start made by both front row drivers, but also away like a robber's dog is Barry Moore from the second row. He goes to the inside line looking for a gap as they break for the right-hander of Paddock, and he's going to go through and bag second place at least. On board with Daniel Bremner now as the cars work their way uphill for the first time. 30 minutes of racing like this mean that you don't necessarily have to push at the first corner to win the race there. You can bide your time a little bit, look after the machinery, but you can't afford to let the leader get away. You've got to try and stay in that leading group all the while through. Anthony Barnes then leads the way, and the drama starts nice and early as number 54 there, which is Andrew Ebden, bounces his way across the grass and back on again. Ebden was one of the drivers involved at Graham Hill Bend in the first race, and life is getting no better. Heading up towards the end of the opening lap then. Can Anthony Barnes make it 2 out of 2? All of these cars with 1600cc Ford Sigma engines, 125 brake horsepower, 5-speed gearboxes, an open differential. As there, you see 33 Barry Moore make his move for third up the inside going into Paddock. Is it going to work for him? Not quite. He tries to squeeze by coming out of the corner. Damien Milkins in the black car defends, and Steve McCulley is right there as well behind them. McCulley up from 8th on the grid as Moore goes to the inside of Milkins, and that is a change for third place. Done. McCulley tries to buy into it, and so too does Joe Draper here. New season, new dramas, new battles, all action out on track here. Steve McCulley pushing on as well. Look, number 97. He's trying to attack and defend at the same time. Race leaders nose to tail. Barry Moore, though, goes wide, and Milkins gets up the inside now as they work their way towards the timing line. Steve McCulley tries to go with them. Can he get a tow? He might get a double tow indeed here, because the two cars are level. Look at the way McCulley closes. Moore tries to defend. Milkins gets squeezed a little bit, so Moore goes third, McCulley fourth, and there's a change for the lead as well. Look, Alistair Calvert round the outside going into paddock. This race is on. It's coming alive. Every battle is changing as they work their way up towards Druids. The new leader is Alistair Calvert as he drops downhill. Software developer Anthony Barnes falls back behind him as they work their way now once more onto Cooper Straight. But Calvert, the man who specialises in property, is the man up front as they now turn their way up through Surtees and then McLaren. The man from Billingshurst leads the way, but I fear that Anthony Barnes will be close enough to tow himself back into contention as they get to the timing line. Steve McCulley goes through, busily defending as they head towards the line. Let's have a recap of the start then. You're on board with Daniel Bremner. Light to go out. Milkins bogs down a bit, so a good start by Barry Moore, and look by Steve McCulley, who goes one side, and then Joe Draper, who goes the other. They're going to get, I think, one more lap out of this, and that's all, and they're nose to tail going into paddock, and there's another back marker that they've got to negotiate. William Emkins this time is the man they're going to have to sort out. William keeps to one side of the road, nose to tail into Druids. It's game on once more, because you've got Calvert and Barnes absolutely tied together. This 8-wheel Tracksport leads the race effectively. They're that close. Out of Graham Hill Bend, along Cooper Straight they come. Checkered flag is at the ready. The clock's going to hit zero this time around, so it's now or never really for Barnes. He might be able to do it on the line if he's really clever about this and gets a good run into Clark Curve. Dives out at the last minute, having got a tow. It might just work for him. Let's see. Here they come. Up towards the checkered flag. It's going to be Alistair Calvert to score the win, or is it? Because here comes Barnes. He makes his move at the flag. Again, it's a virtual dead heat, but Anthony Barnes it is who wins by 32 thousandths of a second. Joe Draper is on for third, and this man, Daniel Bremner, is on for fourth place as they work their way towards the line. Barry Moore and Damien Milkins behind them. Another fantastic finish, and the slipstream effect works. On the line, Anthony Barnes wins by 32 thousandths of a second. Alistair Calvert ends up in second spot. Third goes the way of Joe Draper. Daniel Bremner fourth ahead of Barry Moore and Damien Milkins.
I had it planned. I think midway through the race I did it a couple of times, picked him on the line. So when I was kind of behind him on the last lap, I thought, this is it, and I got him just on the line. I think I got the good drive out the last corner, just managed to stay in his toe and get out, and yeah, I don't know how close it was, but I think it was about an inch.
So 2 race wins for Anthony Barnes means that he is going to leave Brands Hatch with a 5-point advantage in the championship. Alistair Calvert second, but a 3-way tie for third involves Damien Milkins, Daniel Bremner and Barry Moore, with Joe Draper rounding out the top 6. We've had 2 races, we still have 2 races to go. The third race of the weekend for the ITC Compliance Caterham Supersport Championship has Henry Heaton and Jack Brown on the front row of the grid. Philip Jenkins and Matt Madonna are on row 2. 30 minutes of racing about to get underway. You're on board with Rob Clay. There'll be a 5-second board, then the lights will go red, and then the pack is going to be unleashed. And who is going to have the advantage on the run towards Paddock Hill Bend? Let's find out. We go racing! The best start just made really by Max McDonough from the second row. He tries to find a way between the 2 front row drivers heading in towards paddock, but there's just no gap for him, as up the inside in the yellow car goes Tony Mingoya. The pack swarms its way through paddock for the first time. On board now with Andres Sinclair as he goes to the outside of Mingoya. Up towards Druids they turn. Through the hairpin, then the road plunges down towards Graham Hill Bend. On board now with Rob Clay. There's a whole long line for the race lead, and one car being squeezed a little bit up towards the curve and sideways at Graham Hill Bend. That was Roy Gray. He has survived, but he might have lost momentum coming then onto Cooper Straight for the first time. Sinclair still hard at work. 140 brake horsepower engines from these Ford Sigma units in the Supersports. They come up towards the timing line at the end of lap 1. Race leader Henry Heaton, as they come across the line, he has got right with him though, Jack Brown, and this is Andres Sinclair looking for a way past Tony Mingoya. They dive their way through Paddock Hill Bend. It's a hard-charging Max McDonough in third place, but the two race leaders in danger of tripping over themselves. So close are they for the race lead. Henry Heaton was the man who won the first race of the weekend. Jack Brown was the man who won the second. So it's a real grudge match, this, between the two of them. The two stars thus far going now head-to-head. On board with Sinclair, onto Cooper Straight here. Left and right, Surtees, then McLaren. Sinclair fifth, riding the curbs. And working as hard as he can to get back onto the tail of the leading group. Now Henry Heaton up front, he's just starting to edge away ever so slightly. He heads up towards the line. Is Jack Brown going to be able to tow himself back into contention? Absolutely he is. The gap has disappeared already. It lasted for about a corner. Heaton and Brown, nose to tail. In third place you've got McDonough, fourth is Mingoya, fifth, and all up the curb again is Andre Sinclair, and that unsettles the car going through Paddock. Brakes for Druids, he turns into the hairpin. And they're chasing after them is Ben Tuck, number 62, on board with Sinclair. For Graham Hill Bend, we've got a new race leader. Jack Brown has done it, he's got himself ahead. So, Brown, with a win to his name this weekend, leads his second race. Can he do the double? I suspect that Henry Heaton is going to be able to fight back, though, before the end. It's a 30-minute race, and the leaders emerge nose to tail. Grass and muck on the circuit now. Somebody's gone shortcutting the corner. Phil Jenkins in 18, the red and white and black car there, looking to gain ground as well. Up towards the timing line, side by side they come. On the outside and easily back into the lead there goes Henry Heaton. He got a tow, pulled out of the draft and makes it stick. Uphill goes Tony Mingoya now, trying to attack for third on the inside. What's happening here? There's a big spin for Josh Ward. That was at Clearways, and he's put his rear wheels in the gravel. Hopefully, he's going to be able to drive out of there. Hopefully. Leaders starting now to just edge away from Max McDonough. Replay of the start on board with Andre Sinclair. Lights are red, lights are out. The road suddenly gets blocked by Tony Mingoya on the inside. New race leader is Jack Brown. He turns his way through Druids for the final time. Henry Heaton second, and not close enough, I don't think, on this last lap to fight back. Jack Brown has timed it well. He's made his move. Late race. And now trying to pull clear. He's on Cooper Straight. Half a lap to go. Into view he comes. Left through Surtees. Right up towards McLaren. Turns his way from the Indy circuit back onto the full circuit through Clark Curve, and the checkered flag is at the ready. We've had a number of drivers, though, pipped on the line and losing a victory. I don't think it's going to happen to Brown, because so great is the advantage. He can celebrate long before he gets to the flag. Jack Brown wins the third ITC Compliance Caterham Supersport Championship race of the weekend. But we're not done yet. Henry Heaton's going to be second, but who's third? Richard Ainscoe just ahead of Max McDonough as they come pouring up towards the line. On board with Andre Sinclair. Cars all around him, including Jürgen Richtering, who gets out of the way, the back marker, and Sinclair is fifth, coming over the line. It's a race win for Jack Brown ahead of Henry Heaton, who took a fastest lap and a new lap record indeed in the process, with Richard Ainscoe rounding out the top three, ahead of Max McDonough, Andre Sinclair, and Ben Tuck in sixth.
Thank you so much. Absolutely brilliant, yeah. Like I say, first round of the season, 2 wins. It couldn't have gone much better whatsoever. Some great people, great conditions, and a great win overall.
Our final race of our Caterham Motorsport action from Brands Hatch is the fourth and final Caterham Supersport Championship race. The man on pole position is Christian Charuta. He was second in his earlier race, and with him at the front of the grid is Chris Hutchinson. Thumbs up from both. They're getting ready for what should be another dramatic 30 minutes of racing. The second row, Will Smith. He was fourth in his earlier race, and the green car in the hands of Mike Evans. And on board, Richard Nordhoff. He's ready for the start. Everybody in place in a moment. There'll be a 5-second board, and then the lights will go red. We're racing. A good start is made by Hutchinson from the outside of row 1, but a really good start by Mike Evans looking the green car. They accelerate up towards Paddock. Is there a gap on the inside for Evans to take and grab the race lead? He's up the curb. He's going to get second. Brave stuff. On board with Nordhoff. just up the road ahead. There's Dan Gore in the yellow car, and Hutchinson gets squeezed up onto the grass. Through they come, out of the hairpin. Richard Nordhoff now gets muscled out wide as Will Smith tries to come up alongside him. Also being brave in the black car, Tim Dickens. You're on board now with Smith as he looks for a way past Richard Nordhoff as they run along Cooper Straight. But up front, Christian Charuta, who led his earlier race but was mugged towards the end. He's trying to get away and score a win in this. Mike Evans goes with him as the cars now turn their way up through the right-hander of Clark Curve toward the end of the lap. Another challenge made on the inside, Richard Osgoby, the red car. But now for second place, it's game on as up the inside there goes number 20, Dan Gore, who's made good progress on the opening lap. Brakes as late as he dares, but he does go through up into second place. From the third row of the grid, Dan Gore goes second, and now the other yellow car of Chris Hutchinson runs round the outside. Tim Dickens gets involved in it, but there's nowhere for him to go. The road virtually blocked as they run three abreast up towards Druids. On board with Nordhoff now, downhill to the inside line goes Dickens. He'll brake as late as he can, and he goes ahead of Evans. That puts him fourth. The race leader, Christian Charuta, though, still trying to extend the advantage over the rest of them. 30 minutes of racing here. That's about 34 laps on the evidence of what we've had in the other races. So that's the target. And 34 laps is still an awful lot round here because there's barely anywhere for you to be able to relax. It's work, work, work all the time, especially in Caterham racing, where you're either attacking or defending. The only person that's remotely on his own is Charuta, the race leader. For second place, they're side by side, and Hutchinson's up the inside of Gore. And now Dickens gets two wheels on the grass and makes his own gap. He keeps on coming, but no, in the end, he's got to back out of that. He may have had great expectations going up towards Druids, but they have come to naught because Dickens is still fourth as they head down towards Graham Hill Bend now. Mike Evans and then Richard Nordhoff are tucked up behind him. Replay of the start. Lights are red, lights out, on board with Will Smith. Not a great start. Mike Evans comes round the outside, and Evans keeps on going. Round the outside of us goes Dickens. Up the inside for second place, though, goes Evans. Christian Charuta not really being able to respond. Dan Gore has faded back in the pack a little bit. Chris Hutchinson has lost ground, you can see. So it looks as though Will Smith's timing is very good indeed. He's on target, seemingly, for a victory now. But can the opposition do anything about it? Over the timing line they come. We've still got Christian Charuta in second place, chasing, and Mike Evans is there in third. But a small gap is opening up between Evans and the rest of them, with Andrew West now up into fourth. We're on the last lap of the race as they work their way towards Druids. Will Smith is going to have to make that car very wide indeed. It's not necessarily defending here or on Cooper Straight. It's the run out of clearways up to the checkered flag, because that's where you're going to give a slipstreaming tow to the man behind you. But now, look, Smith just edges away by a length or so. He needs as big a gap as he can get from the last couple of corners. The fourth race of the Caterham Supersport Championship is about to be concluded. Will Smith is the leader. Right on his tail is Christian Charuta. Has Smith done enough? It looks like it. Now the slipstream should kick in. Charuta will close. Is he going to jink to the outside? He's not going to get there in time as Will Smith wins a tremendous race, and he wins by the massive margin of a tenth of a second. Christian Charuta bags second place, and Mike Evans is third ahead of Andrew West. Chris Hutchinson is fifth, and Tim Dickens rounds out the top six. Another epic race. Richard Nordhoff and Lucy Redding come home 7th and 8th. But Will Smith, 4th in his first race, wins his second, and in style.
Yeah, it was a real bit of a mare of a start on my part, but the pack stayed really nice and tight in this race, which was really lucky, and picked them off one by one. Had a really good battle with Christian at the end, and he nearly came back at me, but just managed to hold on and over the moon with it.
Some tremendous racing to kick-start the Caterham Motorsport Championship year. And in the Supersports, Jack Brown leaves as the leader by a point from Henry Heaton. Will Smith and Christian Charuta tied for third. Chris Hutchinson and Max McDonough and Mike Evans all tied for fifth.
The Caterham Superlight R300-S Championship is the most powerful racing series in Caterham's portfolio. And the season opens here at the legendary Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. 2015 proved to be an excellent year for these nimble sports cars, and in 2016 the grids are even bigger. Here's a little taste of what you can expect with David Addison.
The 2015 Caterham Superlight Championship made for some thrilling racing. The action came thick and fast. All season long, the battles raged on all the way down the field until the title shootout became a two-horse race. David Robinson took the title after some very close season-long battles. And for 2016, there's a number of returning drivers as well as some new ones. 2015 runner-up Aaron Head returns to the grid. Reigning Supersport champion Stephen Nuttall moves up to the series this year, and so far he has won all 4 categories of Caterham racing in succession. Could this be 5 from 5? And young hotshot Danny Winstanley returns after proving his pace last year, and he should be one to watch.
Last weekend we were on the Indy circuit, this weekend.
We're ready for 30 minutes of action here at Brands Hatch. The results of race 1 determine the grid for race 2, so it's Aaron Head and Lee Wiggins on the front of the grid. Jack Sayles lines up on the second row in the red car, and we are set, ready to go. The first race was much interrupted, but very dramatic nonetheless, and we are racing at Brands. Good start by Aaron Head. He gets the jump on Lee Wiggins in the green car. The all-black livery of John Mortimer slots into the pack as well, and there's mayhem off the grid. Already there's lots of damage, and there's one heading for the gravel at Paddock Hill Bend. It's Stephen Nuttall who's off the road. He's going to get back onto the tarmac, but I fear the race isn't going to go very far because we saw at least 4 cars involved in that skirmish off the grid. It may be a safety car period, it could even be a red flag, and a new start to the race as the cars drop down to Graham Hill Bend for the first time. Keeping an eye out to see what flag signals we're going to get as Aaron Head leads the way with the pink cage. Lee Wiggins is right up behind him as the cars work their way onto the Grand Prix part of the circuit for the first time. 2-litre Ford Duratec engines, 175 brake horsepower, these cars. They're on a semi-slick Avon tyre, and they get a red flag as well. The race is being stopped. It's all because of the incident off the grid, I'm afraid. Let's try and work out who was involved in it, because there, one car being pushed away is 81 with damage, and that is Albert Vella, the Northall construction man. He is going no further, and the rest of the field now will turn through Westfield, make their way back down to the Indy circuit and form up on the grid ready for the restart. Let's try and work out, if we can, who was at fault. There's a bit of creeping from quite a few. There's one car, look, that gets completely bogged down up near the pit wall, and there's just a concertina effect as one breaks and others plough into the back. 88 being another of them, Finlay Hutchison, who's only here anyway to gain signatures on his licence before he goes into Formula Renault NEC for the year. Tom Eden in number 64 as well, the Harleston driver. He has got damage and all the fluid pouring across the road. So that was one incident. Have a look at Stephen Nuttall's travails. Lights go out, he blasts away from the line. So how does it all go wrong for him? Because Nuttall's an experienced driver. He sees the battle going on ahead and then jinks to the outside and just gets the line completely wrong. Heads for the gravel. The restart is going to be behind the safety car here. The field working its way down towards Clark Curve. Safety car will bail for the pit lane, and then it's Aaron Head versus Lee Wiggins versus the Tunbridge Wells tax advisor, Jack Sayles, in third position as the cars now accelerate up towards the timing line. And we are good to go racing. Coach builder Lee Wiggins in the green car is going to be on his toes to see what he can do on the run down towards Paddock. But Aaron Head it is who sprints away then as the cars turn their way into the right-hander. Up the inside tries to go Jack Sayles, and tucked up behind them as well is John Mortimer. Braking area they go for Druids. Mortimer coming under attack himself as the field works its way through Druids for the first time now. It was due to be a 30-minute race. We're going to be down to about 25 now, given the fact we've lost some time with the red flag situation. As a long Cooper straight for the first time. Now the green car further back in the pack was Danny Winstanley trying to make progress. Lee Wiggins is the man we're looking at from behind the race leader, out of the back of Aaron Head's car. And at the moment, Lee Wiggins is trying to attack and defend at the same time. Stephen Nuttall here, right on the back of Danny Winstanley. Nuttall, 4 times a Caterham champion. He arrives in a class, wins it, moves on and moves up. What can he do this year in the Superlight R300s? It's a massive grid as well this year. Challenge being made there. Look on the inside by Danny Killeen, and he gains ground going through Hawthorns. But this championship really has blossomed again this season. 32 cars here. And some tremendous racing in prospect, but Aaron Head is the man at the moment in charge as they work their way up through Sheen Curve. Hard at work lower down. Danny Winstanley is there. Look, John Mortimer comes up to have a go at Jack Sales. Side by side they run through Stirlings. On the inside line was Mortimer, but Sales will have the inside line for the next corner. Down to Clark Curve they come. Together they run into the right-hander now. And you can see also there, 78 trying to join the mix. Also Danny Winstanley, former TVR racer, inching up onto the back of the leading group. Now for the lead, Aaron Head gives a tow to Lee Wiggins, who dives up the inside going into paddock. That's the move for the race lead, and it's a successful move as well. Aaron Head gets the switch back though, tries to get the undercut, going up to Druids. Head in the black car. Lee Wiggins in the green, right alongside on the slower line, has to give way. But early in the race, that's not the end of the world. You can carry on battling like this as long as you don't leave yourself open to others getting past you and really make your move in the last 5 minutes of the race. John Mortimer is up to third then. Jack Sales is fourth. And then in fifth spot, as the cars head up towards the left-hander of Surtees, you've got Will Smith in the orange car. So that leading line is still a long one. Danny Killeen through number 25, the white with the green cage. This is how the lead changed, albeit briefly. So Lee Wiggins gets a tow coming over the timing line. He dives to the inside and he makes that move through on the inside line. But Aaron Head knew exactly what was happening, so he's able to tighten his line out of the corner, lunge up the inside. He's in the pound seats going into Druids, and back up front goes Aaron Head. More drama heading into paddock. Look, the next pair, David Brio and Steve Ruston, squabbling. And they're coming under attack as well. Oscar Rovelli is right up behind them as they break for Druids now. Also in the midst of that, the blue car of Chris Wright being squeezed way wide on the outside. John Reed, number 2, the concert promoter, nips up through as well. And he then tries to put a move on Jeremy Ellis in number 4. Great fight all the way through the field. And now they work their way up onto the Grand Prix part of the circuit. Race leaders then work their way down towards Clark Curve, and it looks as though it's going to be a win for Aaron Head as he turns his way into the right-hander. He's got still pushing on behind him a hard-charging Danny Winstanley, but with the checkered flag being made ready this time, it looks like Aaron Head will have done enough, but only just, because now Winstanley gets a tow as they come up towards the line, but Aaron Head scores victory. He crosses the line to make it this weekend 2 out of 2 at Brands Hatch in the bookertrack.com Caterham Superlight R300 Championship. Winstanley second and Wiggins bags third, and Will Smith comes over the line with Clive Richards virtually alongside him, 31 thousandths of a second separating the two at flagfall. There are still battles to be resolved lower down as well, because 44 heading for the timing line. John Whitehouse is 15th. He's got this long line behind him, including David Brio. Steve Ruston is there in 55 also, set for 17th place. And up towards the timing line they come. Well, we've had massive grids this weekend, bigger than for a few seasons in the championship, and great racing exemplified in the fight for 15th that ends up with the margin being just 81 thousandths of a second as they cross the line. Wow, what a great start to the year. Confirmation of the results of race 2. Aaron Head victorious by just over a fifth of a second from Danny Winstanley. Lee Wiggins takes third ahead of Jack Sales. Will Smith 5th, and Clive Richards from 19th to 6th.
I went off at the back section, just going into the left-hander, coming to the last corner, but that dropped me back a couple of places, but made that end up in 3 corners, so got back to the front and then just held it from there, and then just pushed my hardest to stay away from Danny.
Really good starts for Aaron Head. 2 races, 2 wins, championship lead as well. It's been a real bank raid for him this weekend in terms of points, because leaving Brands, he has 5 points of an advantage over Lee Wiggins and Jack Sales, who tie behind him. Danny Winstanley's 4th ahead of John Mortimer, with Stephen Nuttall 6th ahead of Phil Gladman and Matt Dyer.